it's never failure if, one, you don't give up, and two, you always ask yourself what the lesson to be learned was. And if you're learning, then I like to label it as failing forward. And failure is just part of growth. And it's something that I no longer run from and get like really wrapped up and like scared of. I'm not nervous to fail anymore. Do I want to fail? No. Does it suck when it happens? Yes. But are there super valuable lessons that can be extracted? Heck yeah.
What's your plan for tomorrow? Are you a leader or will you follow? Are you a fighter or will you cower? It's our time to take back the power. What's your plan?
What's up, guys? Welcome back to The Rebel Show. I'm Bree Mesquit, and today I have my husband,
Chance Mesquit.
and we are going to be talking about our current lessons that we're learning or failures that we've had in growing our business. So we're really moving out of I haven't been in the treatment room for quite some time now, and we're really moving on to more of being product focused. And we have our e-commerce site where we sell products to waxers and estheticians to use for their waxing services. So with that, we're building a team. We have employees now, and we're just stepping into a whole new realm of business, and we're learning a lot of lessons, and we've had quite a few failures recently. I wrote down a few things, and we're just going to kind of have a discussion about it, share it with you guys so we can be really authentic on our journey. I'm never going to sit here. I really think that the whole imposter syndrome a lot of times can stem from trying to be a teacher when you're truly a student. And when it comes to where we are right now and the building of our business and the expansion and scaling and the growing of our team, we truly are students. So I wouldn't feel comfortable to sit here and preach to you guys on how to do this because we're still figuring it out for ourselves. But I still want to be able to document this, first of all, for ourselves to be able to look back on, because I love seeing the growth that we have. Even looking back 6 months from today, we've had so much growth. But I think the most value will be for you guys will be us being super authentic and just show and transparent and sharing these lessons and failures with you guys. So either A, maybe you can avoid some of them yourselves, or B, when they come up, you'll have a better understanding of maybe some actions that you can take and what you can do to help you get through that failure or through that lesson and on to the other side of the hurdle. One of the first lessons I wrote down that we've recently learned is that you can't grow what you don't track. So initially, what I was thinking with this was, when we started our health and fitness journey, it's if we weren't tracking, first of all, our starting weight, BMI, all the health stats, so blood pressure, getting our blood work done, how can we measure growth if we don't know our starting stats and then keep track of them, throughout the journey?
All those stats too, and then the food also, measuring and keeping track of how much we're taking in, our intake, and what we're actually using throughout the day too.
Yeah, and, totally.
Intake of food and water or whatever.
Yeah,
so,
all of it, and you can't grow or, have any benefits from it if you're not tracking it.
You can't grow what you
don't track. Then what I was also thinking for business is if we're not looking at what our monthly revenues are at the very basics, but now we're seeing, so we're implementing the EOS system, so entrepreneurial operating system. Yes, That's what that stands for. So we now have our weekly team meetings. They're called L10 meetings, and part of the meetings is called a scorecard. So now we're realizing oh my gosh, there's so much that we really need to be tracking in order to measure the growth and then be able to continue to grow it, and then know where we have some flaws or things that we need to fix. So for example, on a YouTube subscriber count, how many order mistakes we're having on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. How are we going to improve on that if we're not tracking it and we don't know what those numbers are?
And I think when we really pivoted that was when we were tracking our emails and email tracking, right?
Oh yeah, the course and stuff. So having tracking how many people sign up for our free 6-week course that we put out. I really am starting to see that you can't. And okay, so when we went to our half-day session with Bedros, there was a lot of questions that he asked me that my answer was, I don't know. And then
it's not that you didn't know, but you had it. It
wasn't
somewhere.
readily available.
Yeah.
It wasn't organized.
So you needed to wait. You needed to make him wait a minute so you could look it up and find it.
But it wasn't intentionally being tracked though.
Wasn't,
like I had to go into the system and like find the information. So he looked at me. He's like, all right, I like you guys. What did he say? He's like, I like you guys. I want to keep working with you guys.
Well, I like you guys. I'm assuming that you guys want to keep working with me in the future. So don't ever come to my office or to another meeting without knowing your stats
or saying the word I don't know.
Yeah, and don't ever tell me you don't know something when I ask you.
Got it.
I said, all right. 10-4.
So that was a failure / more. That I wouldn't say that was a failure. I'd say just more we're learning what to be tracking.
Yeah,
because I didn't even know what to be tracking.
And that's the reason why we hired him too. Yeah, is to tell us that we need to be tracking these things and learning these things and some of the words and systems. Like we didn't know what an EOS system was to begin with, and all these other systems are brand new to us. Yeah. We started out of our garage and grew this into what it is now. So we're learning the business behind the product and behind your services and the business behind the business.
Yep. Yeah. And I take constructive criticism like that. Well, I like that he delivered it that way because if he was too soft about it, then I'm like, oh, that's just a suggestion. Mm-hmm. The way that he said, I'm like, 10-4. Well,
that's why
I will not be saying I don't know in your office ever again. Yeah. And I made it a point I know my stats better now. And every day we're continuing to realize we got to be tracking this stat and that, whatever. But the bottom line is you guys really need to be tracking everything about your business, but starting at minimum with your profits and losses. You need your revenue and then your expenses so that you have your true profit. I can't tell you how many coaching calls I've gotten on with people or even just the consultations, and I'm asking them for their P&L reports and they're not even sure what that is. And that's fine again, because everyone starts somewhere, but then not just saying, I don't know. And then being well, I don't know. So I'm not I'm just not going to do it. It's I don't know this. Now I need to go actively seek out resources to be able to learn and figure this out. Okay. Exactly. So you can't just use it as an excuse to just not do it.
Well, everybody's going to be tracking something different. The esthetician in the treatment room, they should be tracking how much wax they go through so they could keep their inventory tight and they know when to put in the next order and stuff. Yes. So everybody's going to have something different to track. We learned what a landed cost was and we didn't know what landed cost. What was that? And that's getting our product shipped here, delivered, all the costs that it takes to get it from point A to point B and to you guys. Yeah,
including the staff that we hire for unload days.
Just everything that has to do with that product getting on the shelves, getting packaged and sent out.
Yeah. So we knew what we were paying for the product, obviously, and then the general shipping cost to get it to us, but we weren't then breaking that down and calculating. Yeah, we didn't know.
Yeah. So I think that's a big thing is to where you're at right now, just try to track what you can and what you do know. Yeah. You know that you use wax in the treatment room, so you should be tracking how much wax you use per day. Yeah. And I think you have a lesson on that, right? Or you have
I will definitely.
About how you did tally marks when you first began?
How I used to track, Yep. We'll put that all, if it's already out, we'll link it. If not, then just make sure you guys are following me on Instagram. I give a lot of tips and tricks and visuals on Instagram as well. So make sure you're following me on Instagram.
Tracking,
at Bree Mesquit.
So I think tracking what you can where you're at right now.
Yeah. Yep.
Is a big thing.
And just get started and be consistent. So I have to put one thing. He said, try sets you up to give up and just not do. Yeah. So it's you're either making the decision that you're going to be doing it or you're making the decision not to be doing it. There's no try. Trying is just giving you an excuse to not do it. And then you're well, I tried. So if you are committing to that, then commit to that and then follow through and be consistent. Hey guys, quick interruption to the show to bring you a offer you won't be able to resist. If you have not yet tried Rebel Wax, then go ahead and visit our site, lashandwaxoc.com, and use code TRYREBEL, all one word, code TRYREBEL to claim 2 free sample size bags. Man, this is a lesson I think we're going to have to learn quite a few times, it seems like. Hiring slow, firing fast. So I have noticed, and I really realized this recently, is that when we hire someone, and okay, I'll talk for myself. I hire based on the potential that I see in them.
Yeah.
Rather than their actual performance. So I tend to give a lot, way too much up front. And then once like we see their actual performance, and I try to take away to make sure that it's like lining up. So too many times I've either put this isn't meaning that that person, there's anything wrong with that person. They just might not be the right person for that seat. So you have to find the right people for the right positions. Okay. So like it's a leadership problem. It's not the employee problem. And that's what I'm realizing is like we hire way too fast because we get really excited. And then I tend to give them base their pay. We've done a lot of salary based stuff recently. At the beginning, I would say. More because I thought it would be like easier for like tracking and stuff, but then what I realized was,
well, I think because we just were all over the place and we didn't have set systems. So then we're just like, what if we need them to do this? What if we need them to pull off and go do this or do that? So we thought salary would be the best bet. Yeah, it's like because we just were so like open ended. There wasn't like a set position because we were just doing it all. Yeah, we were you're selling it, doing the advertisement and like marketing and collabs, and then you're in there printing the labels and packaging and taping the boxes with us, and I was driving to drop off, but then we would have to go drive to Portland or whatever and pick up racks and then go here pick up that, so it was just like a all-in-one thing. Yeah, so I think we just thought salary would be best because it was just I don't know if we didn't think
on paper it seems like it makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know if we didn't think like if we thought that there was going to be too many hours there or something, or if salary was just going to be good because it just covers it all and makes it everybody just happy. Or
well, I think we also assumed as if we were the ones in that position because we know with our work ethic and how we operate that if we were given that we would go absolutely over and beyond and like make the owner or the CEO or whoever that we would be working for that were paying us, we would want to make them so incredibly happy that they felt like they're getting, even though they're paying us, I don't know, $2,000 a month. I don't know. I just came up with a random number that they feel like they're getting $5,000 in value or something, that's how we operate is that we would go over and beyond. I'm realizing not everyone operates or has that mindset. So it's like we tend to give all this and then people can fall very comfortable into just like wanting to do the bare minimum just to skirt by. So I think the adjustment that we're making now is really basing pay off of performance. So we've switched some people over to hourly and some people will be getting some raises because now we're realizing how like valuable and amazing. And I think performance and
pay. And then that performance is going to be earn that pay.
Yeah. And I think some adjustments too, we already did start to make, we need to improve upon is having like that 30-day like trial or whatever you call that, like
I think now,
trial period.
I think that would work best now. But like when we first started hiring, like I said, we were just so all over the place with no systems at all. Yeah. So it was really hard to like base a 30-day off of 30-day performance off of that because it was just so all over the place. So it's kind of hard to like see where people are going wrong or doing things right because there's no systems.
I feel like we almost needed to give like more of like a 90-day.
If anything, just kind of, I think just more of a shadowing process, Yeah.
Well, that's the training. So that's actually another freaking.
Yeah, I think the training. Yeah, I think we need to nail down the training and have like a bulletproof training on what the tasks are required from the people that we're trying to hire. Yeah. And so they're clear on it too.
Yeah. So job description.
Job description, training, and
having clear expectations.
Yeah, because it was so all over the place that it wasn't clear to us, because it was just us doing everything, and so we're trying, show people or train people on that, and it's just untrainable. Like we just, Yep. It's better if they just kind of shadow us and see what we do, so they kind of get a feel for like what's going on.
But now we're having to move into the next phase of creating better systems and processes and onboarding.
When I say we, it's like the next person in line, who we trained in the warehouse needs to be training the next people that are coming up.
Yeah. But with that, we've learned from coaches that we've been coaching. So Bedros, Bryce, Jason, we're part of the Legacy Tribe as well. It's a program that Bedros, our coach, put on with Bryce and Jason. When you do that, when you have like, when we train initially, and I experienced this at European Wax Center, and then those trainers train the next group, and then that next group, it gets watered down a little bit with each new person that's training. And I really experienced that at European Wax Center because new centers would be trained by corporate trainers, but then they would find within that center, they would create their own trainers, and then those trainers would train the next group of trainers. And by the time you got like 5, 6 down the line, the training like absolutely went to crap and it gets watered down. So that's something that we are now prepared for ahead of time based on listening to our coaches and mentors and hearing their failures and mistakes, so that hopefully this is something we can somewhat, I don't think it's fully going to be avoidable, but we can at least prepare better for is that watering down of the training and figuring out how to really like create a good solid system so that there's no watering down that can take place. So how are we going to do that yet? I'm not 100% sure.
We're still learning ourselves.
I've been brainstorming though on creating like here on YouTube like video, because that's what I was thinking. I was like, I do so well at educating through video because that's just what I've been used to with being here on social media. So I'm like, why don't I train my staff like that? So creating video lessons, putting it here on YouTube, like under the hidden videos or whatever, and then just giving people direct links. So that's something I've been kind of brainstorming, and I think I'm going to do that. So I literally will go in the packing stations and be like, this is how you pack a 2-pound bag of wax. This is how you pack when you have soft wax in the orders and they need to be bubble wrap. Like I think we could start with something like that too.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just all like, you have to just learn the lessons through the failures.
You do.
They're never truly failures. Only if you give up.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Hire slow, fire fast. That's what we're on.
Oh, that was it. So next is communication is key. Oh my gosh, this is we struggle bus with this one. So leadership, this is something I learned from Bryce Henson. He's awesome. He is the CEO of Fit Body Boot Camp, which was founded by Bedros, our coach. And he said in one of our trainings, leadership is always the problem, but leadership is also always the solution. So that's something that we both are needing to work on majorly right now, is becoming better leaders, but improving upon our communication. So it's one thing to be, to tell people things, but are you telling them in a way that they're able to hear you and absorb it and then make the adjustments that you're requesting of them? So being a clear, effective communicator, and also being able to communicate in the way that each individual needs. So that's another thing Bryce teaches a lot on. It's a test that we took, and it's kind of a personality style test, and there's 4 different styles. So there's an eagle, an owl, a dove, and a parrot. And each one, they communicate differently, and they also absorb information differently. So I think we need to really dive further into that so that we're effectively communicating with each one of our team members in a way that actually promote the change that we're wanting, that we're seeking. So having these meetings and conversations don't do anything when there's not a positive outcome that comes from it. And I think we both need to really work on communication. I tend to not want to upset people. And honestly, though, like a switch has flipped. Like I'm kind of done with it, with all that. Like, because I feel like we're very generous with those that we hire. And I'm just looking for a little bit more in return at this point. I want it to be a win-win situation. I'm such a big proponent of like win-win situations, but I feel like for a lot of times we end up putting ourselves in a losing position. And again, this isn't the other person's problem. It's the way that we're setting things up and poor leadership. Again, it's true. It's leadership's always the problem and it's always the solution. So I need to focus on that. So, okay. So what are some like actionable steps that we are going to be taking to become better leaders? I know for me, reading.
Yeah, reading and just acquiring more information on it, listening to Bryce, and like reach out to Bedros for any like questions that we may need answers to on this subject. Just when things come up, really. and how to handle it. And I know he has a story he's talked about quite a few times about like he had to fire somebody or let somebody go, and it was building up for like months, and he was talking to his psychologist about it, and it was just eating him alive because he didn't, know how to communicate that. And it was like a relief when he finally did.
Yeah. And it ended up not being as bad as
yeah,
he
and the
thought.
guy felt the same way, so
Yep.
I mean, I feel like I do that a lot to myself, is like I build the conversation up in my head instead of just like going straight to the person and talking to them.
And then we end up letting it go months pass
yeah, and then
by,
we have
and then
the
more
blow-ups
resentment
and,
is built
resentment
up.
starts building up, and then just like little weird attitudes and snarky comments, and it turns into like a nasty thing. Yeah. So I think just communicating your thoughts. Another big thing what we heard from Andy Purcell the other day was that we need to also, when we ask them to do something or tell them to do something, we need to kind of give them the reason why behind it. Yeah. So that we're letting them in so they kind of know.
Well, but this goes back to the bird types though, because certain types need the overall general vision, and they can run with that. And then some people need to know all the details. Yeah. So it's like, again,
and that's what he said. Sometimes you're going to have to, sometimes you take the time to explain it, and sometimes it's just going to be a straight up no. Like we're doing it this way, and we just need to get it done. Yeah. And then when we have team meetings, that's when we need to be better at writing this stuff down, so that we could kind of go back to it. Yeah. And then bring it up and say, hey, like this is why we were rushing that one day, or this is why we were packaging that one day like this, because we had X, Y, and Z. Or whatever,
Yeah, and give the reasons behind it so that they feel
and then they could, and then they and then hopefully, I don't know, hopefully they start thinking like that more in the future when things come up like that, in it's situations.
They must have a reason.
Yeah, there must be a reason. Okay, let's just do it this way. Yeah. Instead of like that, anti listening to the boss, or it turns into something like that. So all right, so I think communication.
Yeah, and the actionable steps is when we're trying to learn something new is, I would say, like podcasts and books first, just to kind of get a feel, learn some terms so that we can know the right questions to go directly to Bedro. So coaches and mentors, I think those are really two. And then the third thing, though, is then putting into action what you're being told and what you're learning. So if you're reading the podcast, but you're not, or listening to the podcast, but you're not doing anything with the information, you're reading the book, you're not doing anything with the information, you're reaching out to the coach or mentor, but you're not doing what they tell you to do, then it's a waste.
That's exactly what I was going to say, is putting in the reps of what you learned. Yep. And actually, putting in the reps of just communicating. The simple little things, whatever they may be, just, like talk to that person.
And we've been improving on that, because we had an incident on Friday, and normally I would have just like ignored it, whatever. But Monday morning, that was the first thing that we addressed and talked about. And it felt really good to do that. Yeah. And now that today's Tuesday, while we're filming this, so that just happened yesterday, and it just feels lighter.
It does.
The culture is feeling better. Like everything feels better. Yep. So we are practicing what we're preaching here, you guys.
Take action. Take action on it.
This next one, who, not how. Oh my gosh, this is such a big one. This one's hard though. Okay, so what the heck does this, what do I mean by this? I read this in a book that Bedros recommended us to. 10x is easier than 2x. Yeah. That's the book. So he recommended us read that as soon as we became coaching clients, and it was great. And one of the things they talked about in there is who, not how, which actually I believe is its own book and kind of goes as along as a series with 10x. But so it's not always like how to complete something. So say you're wanting to start a business, start a business, you have to register as LLC, all of the things, what you need to do, but you don't know how to do it. Maybe the question we ask ourselves is, who can help me to do this, or who can I hire to do this for me? So that's something that we've been really learning lately. Like even this podcast right now, behind the camera, we got beautiful Ashley, and she's our who now. Instead of me saying, how do I start a podcast? How do I record it? How do I edit it? What's the mic situation? It was okay, who can we find? And then we found Ashley, and now she's amazing, and she takes care of this, and we get to just sit here and blubber on, and she can deal with the gnarly editing later from all my squirrel moments.
And I think that's a big thing for new entrepreneurs, is like just wearing all the hats.
Yeah.
Like figuring it all out. And that's what you have to do. You have to be in the
Yeah.
trenches at first and stuff. And I think when you start learning and growing and learning, I think that's a big key is finding the who, not how.
Yeah.
Not like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to figure out how to work this camera? How am I going to, figure out like we did, like you did, we had paper like slips that we would take tape it on the boxes, and we were just figuring it out. And then we found out that there's the printing labels actually thermal printers and stuff, and just all the things that we've done to get up to this point. We're really implementing the who, not how.
Yeah.
Like, so you don't have to sit there and figure out how to build a website and how to market it to the email listing and all the, the clients. And we found, the right people to build those websites. Yeah.
Yep.
So I think, but at first, I think for the new entrepreneurs, like, I think if you could somehow skip this step, and it would just excel you forward that much more.
Yeah, if you can bring who's in a little bit earlier.
Yeah,
but also
if you can. But it's still also
who's.
good, to go through the trenches so you kind of know what's going on, and you're finding the right who's instead of all these, fake who's out there saying that they could do all these things, and then you're just like, oh, okay, because you don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Because you weren't in the trenches at all with it.
Exactly.
You
so have to have some sort of base.
You have to have some sort of base, and then you could find the right who's.
Yep.
And then I think things would happen a lot quicker and faster and more seamless for those people that
and a lot of mistakes can be avoided. And, and a lot of money, too, can be lost when you're doing things on your own. So that's where you have to find that balance. And like now for us, it's so much easier because we are working with, I wish we would have started with a coach and mentor so much earlier, you guys. Like, seriously, I'm realizing how big it is. And all of the people that we look up to, like, and our coaches or mentors, whether they're like actually like Bedros, who's literally our coach, or people were just listening to their podcast and stuff, they have coaches and mentors too. Mm-hmm. So it's like, just because people having a coach and mentor doesn't mean that they like don't know what they're doing and they're not successful. They're just trying to take it to that next level.
But I think that's what sets us apart and sets you apart from so many other brands and so many people, is that you're through the ditches. You're in the trenches, doing the work, finding out, going through the mistakes, spending the extra money, figuring it out. And we built this obviously to a point where we needed like a certain caliber of a mentor and a business, coach to come in and help us guide it. Yeah. And, take over, So I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned from, going through mistakes.
For
the trenches,
sure,
for sure. So I don't take any of that back, but for sure. If you could get the right who's and the right mentors and not one of these fake gurus out there, and the right people.
I hate the theory talkers. We guys have you done the thing
you got to look at the fruits of your labor and see what the hell they've done before, you hire them on to tell you what to do. Yeah. And, and if that's somewhere that, you want to go is where they've been, then, go for it, Yep. But,
and with this too, it's like now at this point, it's like we don't have to be in the trenches on certain things. Like, for example, the 6-week course, I never asked myself, okay, how am I going to build out the course? Like, I don't want to learn how to build out the course. So then we just went straight to the who. So like that was something I didn't really need to be in the trenches on because I'm not going to like be pursuing that as a career.
For sure.
So it was better just like, let's pay I think we paid like $6,000 for them to build out the whole back end. Yeah. And like for a free course, which but it's like, it's reaped a lot of benefits with providing more value to our customers, which then with our products are being used correctly more often now than it was. Yeah. And it just solved a lot of problems. And if we didn't ask who and we asked how, then that course wouldn't even be out at this point.
And the course, I just want to add a little something for the course too. Oh gosh, what? Is that you are training other, girls that come in to take your class to like say that they're implementing it in just their daily clients, but they were selling it as their own course and their own training. So they're regurgitating what you're saying. So my ideas behind it and my thoughts were just like, all right, screw it. Let's give it out for free. And who's going to compete with that now? How can anybody, take that as their own and try to sell it as their own now? Yeah. Because that really got to me.
What was bothering me the most with that was that it didn't feel fair for the consumer and the person who was purchasing that, because it's like you're purchasing regurgitated information from someone who hasn't actually done the thing that they're now trying to teach on. And I felt like the customer was getting ripped off. And that's what really pisses me off. I hate the feeling of being ripped off personally, and I don't want to see other people get taken advantage of either. So with putting the free course out, it was like I'm removing that obstacle, that financial obstacle, the distance obstacle. Like not everyone's going to come take an in-person hands-on course with me, and not everyone can afford it. Like a lot of the people who need the course the most are the ones who are in the ditch financially the most right now, because they just graduated school, spent all the money on school. Now they're coming out of school realizing the training was pretty non-existent, that they don't really know much, they don't have confidence to get into the field. And I wanted to remove all the obstacles to make it available to the masses, so that I could actually leave a positive footprint in the industry.
Yeah. And I mean, I know it for you too, but once we released that course and stuff, I felt so good that like all these, estheticians were getting it for free, and they got, straight like from the source, the knowledge straight from the source, and they could start implementing it and like bettering their businesses and their clientele experiences. And so it was awesome. Yeah. It was way worth the money, way worth the time,
Yeah. It was nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
We were in the red there for a while.
Yeah, no, that was crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, Ashley was there with us, taping the whole thing and going through it with us. So that was great. It was good. Yeah. But let's get back to the who, not how.
Well, so I think we can move on.
Yeah, can we?
I think we said our piece on that.
Did we?
I think so.
All right, we did.
And you guys can go back and watch the episode of my first 3 hires. So I did an episode about that. You guys can, if you're trying to figure out, okay, but who like should be the who that I'm looking for first. I did a whole episode on that. So go check that out. Okay. Big lesson learned yesterday. And actually, this is a lesson we've learned outside of business. And I didn't realize that it could also pertain to business as well. So Chance and I are into like learning like tactical stuff and like survival and like, I don't know, like Boy Scout stuff, I would say. Is that what you'd call it? I don't know.
I wouldn't call it that.
Okay, no Boy Scout. Well, they tie knots and start fires and... Okay, scratch the Boy Scout comment, but like survival stuff.
Training stuff, yeah.
And
you said it right, tactical. You said tactical, it was great.
For weird life situations that can come up.
Exactly.
But this is something we learned, we hear all the time said in any of these classes we take is 1 is none and 2 is 1. Yep. And I never even considered that like pertaining to business until yesterday. Our thermal shipping printer thing took a crap and completely threw a wrench in our entire day. I explained more of this in a different episode, but you guys can go check that out. Then I was like, oh my gosh, this is literally like our training. 1 is none and 2 is 1. Meaning, if when you have 1, you might as well consider like you have none, because if something happens to that one, then you're shit out of luck. If you have 2, then you really have 1, because that first one breaks down, then you have a backup. So now I'm learning that we really, for things that are of that much importance, that can literally halt the production of our day and getting orders out to our customers, which is number 1, super important. Like, we need to have backup. So I am going to go through our business with a fine-tooth comb and ask myself, what can break down that if we didn't have would be like catastrophic to us being able to achieve our daily task, which is shipping out products. So that's something big that we learned. So I'm gonna make sure, and we've kind of learned this. I never made the connection, because like we would run out of shipping labels. So now I'm like have a subscription for shipping labels. Mm-hmm. When I was in the treatment room, I would run out of wax. Okay, so then I would like started my system, and I'll do a lesson on that of how to keep track and when to know to order. Or you guys can just sign up for Rebel Wax subscriptions and make your life a whole heck of a lot easier.
Keep your inventory real tight.
10% off as well. Yep. Side note. But really having backups or even, I can't tell you how many customers too will buy like, I don't know, a wax pot or something, and then something happens, and like, of course, we're going to handle it. Of course, we're going to take care of that if it's our wax pot. I also have been hearing this for years of people, their wax pot breaking down, then they're having to cancel clients. we got to have a backup wax pot in our treatment rooms too. Like you need to have backups to prepare for the unforeseen things that can pop up. And but anything that can make you halt operations, you need to have a backup. So I would say when we're talking specifically in the treatment room, that'd be a wax pot. You want to make sure you have more than enough sticks, more than enough gloves,
A wax pad for
more
your
than
bed.
enough wax, an extra wax pad by 2. But the wax pod's huge because if you run out of wax, totally sucks, but you can run to Salon Centric.
But not everywhere has one.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have a Salon Centric everywhere in every
true.
town, every little, like us.
Valid.
Like we're in Bend, Oregon, and that's why we couldn't just go run out and get a thermal printer yesterday because they don't have them here. So like we have to wait a week till one comes in, and then now we're doing it the old school way of
For
printing
the
it
rest
out
of this week.
on paper, cutting it out, and taping it to each box. And so that's overcoming that hurdle.
So I feel like a lot of people are like, I don't want to spend the extra money. That's a waste. Okay, but how much money are you losing when you're having to cancel a whole day of clients? So would you rather spend... We have cream and tan 5-pound wax pots on sale for only $105. Shameless plug. So would you rather spend an additional $105 to have a backup or lose $600 worth of clients for a day? So it's like, you have to invest into these things.
I think you can switch them out too. I mean, you could always get a cream one and a white one. And
But I think that's a big thing that people they're like, I don't want to spend the extra money right now. But it's like, how much money potentially could you lose if that item fails on you? So that was a big lesson for us lately too. So my takeaway on this is, first of all, don't avoid mistakes. Okay. I'm a big believer. There are definitely mistakes that can be avoided by listening to people who have gone before you. So whether that's us or like for us, listening to B or listening to Alex and Layla and like whatever, there are mistakes that can be avoided, but there's also mistakes that really shouldn't be avoided. There's big lessons that serve a greater purpose down the line and can reap bigger benefits than having just like avoided that mistake. So I really think there's a lot of mistakes that are, most mistakes. You can make any mistake a positive if you ask yourself this question. What lesson was I meant to learn from this? But it's really important that you're taking away the right lesson, okay? Because I have a really funny story I gotta share. So my grandma, she signed us up to go. My brother, if he's listening to this, sorry, Gabe, but you should have learned a better lesson and I wouldn't have to tell the story.
Yeah, Gabe.
So we went to Hawaii on our like yearly family trip, and there was this dolphin lagoon, and my grandma signed us up for this dolphin and like overall animal experience. So we did very random things. We did a lot of stuff with dolphins. We trained mice in like this maze. It was a full day. It was like a half day experience. It was really cool. And then my grandma, when we came back to the hotel room, she picked us up, whatever, we got back to the room. And she's like, so what did you guys learn today? And my brother goes, that I said like something really like nice. I was like, oh, I learned that the biological, I don't know. I can't remember. I'm not that smart. But anyways, I learned a good positive lesson. My grandma was very impressed by my lesson learned. And then my brother comes in. It's his turn to answer. He goes, I learned that dolphins could fart. So I just thought that was a funny example of there's right and wrong lessons to be taken away from mistakes, okay? Or just things that you experience in life. So we want to make sure that we're extracting the right lesson from the failure, from the mistake, so that we can move on, we can grow from it, you can pass it along and help someone else that's coming up behind you. But don't avoid mistakes. Constantly aim to fail forward, and you guys will be just fine, I promise you. And we will get through this season as well, and then we'll enter into a whole new level of mistakes and failures to be made in the future. And I'm not here to avoid it. I embrace it, and I'm ready to grow and learn. And I hope you guys are ready to grow and learn with us too. So thank you for being here. Thanks for tuning in. Please subscribe, like, share, all the things. We love you, and we'll see you back next week.